Evening, Williamson. How are you doing? I am hoping that I will not forget everything about this run from yesterday. I'm also slightly worried because I don't think my PB is a... Oh no, it is a 118.31. Oh, that's right. It was a 57 before. And my splits would have had to regress pretty far for me not to have... For me to have lost my time, given that I have actual split times in it. Let's just hope the game doesn't crash. Just relaxing. It's a good idea. I'm doing pretty well. I spent some time yesterday and today fixing up the witness guide. So hopefully the boat should be fixed. I wired up most of the picture-in-pictures, so we shouldn't have to do manual replacements for them. And I retook a couple of pictures, but I didn't get through a lot of them. I got to the UTM segment, but it looks like to do those properly, you're going to have to do them on a clean save. Because you can see the third panel being on as you're solving the first one. So I'll need to take a clean save through all lasers and do some UTM stuff. That's not too bad. It's 30 minutes. Just didn't feel like doing it. Aside from that, there's just a smattering of pictures left, so that should be all set. If you want to tackle them today or tomorrow, or Friday, ditto here, just as long as we've got them before Sunday. I also would really like to... Yeah, there's a bunch of UTM picks. Yeah, those are what I'm talking about. But that's about it. Like, there's only a handful of things that aren't in UTM. Anyways, it's not actually that urgent, given that we'll probably start with all lasers. Because I think all lasers is more important to have up to date. I'm picturing we'll start with all lasers and then do a couple of any percents and then call it above ground stuff. Okay, that would explain why most of the stuff is gone or is done. I noticed that you marked a bunch of them as not necessary, which is fine, but I would like to finish them just so we have them. They can be whenever. It doesn't have to be before this weekend, but I don't want to have ones which are low quality if we can help it at all. As long as we have all the stuff for AL by Sunday, it'll be fine. And I also want to try and spend some time fixing the auto splitter bugs that people have reported. Specifically the weird thing with challenge start. I think I know what to do about it. So I will probably spend a bit of time trying to do that. What the hell happened there? Like, what the? How did I get a jump off of a cube? Color me confused. Yep. No, I agree. Again, there's no rush as long as we have it by Sunday, because that's when we're going to do another route. But if we start with AL, then we're probably just going to be fine, because I think all the AL stuff is set. Only thing to check would be make sure that everything in Mountain is good, because I recall there being a decent collection of things in Mountain that needed some work. Oop. Not supposed to walk in front of the boiler. Or else, yeah, I accidentally grabbed the map last run, too. Not supposed to walk in front of the boiler, or else it's very hard to get back behind the boiler to actually grab the cube. Successfully didn't screw up the tower climb. It's a miracle. Hi, thanks, Toad. Hopefully it won't take too much to beat the run yesterday, which, although pretty solid, had some pretty hefty mistakes in it. I think I'm changing this. I'm going to get the cube bit here. It's going to mess with my golds a bit, but I think it's worth doing. Nah, the really big time save was just not winging it on clock tower. Having a setup for clock tower is really, really powerful. Yeah, I think I want to grab this cube bit. It may mess with the immediate next segment, but I think it makes a bunch of the cube grabs later on easier. It also speeds up the revisit to Nature Hub for Quantum by not a huge amount of time. It was very sketchy. It was almost too far to the right. Couple of corner grabs, but I think I'm still going to make this cycle. Just fine on the cycle. Any percent is going to feel pretty straightforward, I think, when I go back to it. The only other thing I need to figure out about any percent is if I want to actually reroute the golden cube bits that we're getting, because there are a couple of golden cube bits in the industrial place off of Memory Core. New Zoo. Ooh. Oh, I screwed that up badly. It's a shame. I rotated too early. I rotated back left too early. You have to finish the full rotation, or else you don't get the cube to snap into position. That's a dumb time loss, but whatever. It happened. All that matters is the owl cycle. Which, if I miss it, I'm resetting anyways, so. Lost another 2 seconds there. Huh. So this is the slightly awkward bit. That's totally makeable. Dot will talk to you there, but it should be possible to not skip that, but grab the cube before Dot talks to you. Nice drop. The reason I do that drop is because it means I can keep facing left. You have to face towards the side that has the door, or Gomez has to be facing towards the door, or else you can't enter it. You can't do the fall cancel. This segment is much more timing heavy, and so it's definitely a better choice to do fluidly without interruptions from dot or cube grabs. So I think it's definitely worth it to do it this way rather than the way I was doing it. Nice. Got the fast cycle. Had to wait a little bit for the cube bit, but otherwise pretty clean. Yeah, that deserves to be a gold. I don't think I've gotten that trick in splits yet. I guess I should probably turn to the left there. Before I try and drop down for the first cube. Because it'll save a little bit of walking distance. Or sorry, the second cube. The cube that has the 1 on it. Decent exit though. But the real question is, does a 1237 work, or is that too slow for this owl? I guess, yeah, 1237 is the number I should be thinking about. Yeah, I'm too slow for this owl. Already gone. It's a shame, but it just happens when you screw up really badly, so I shouldn't be that unhappy about it. Where was the big screw up? One of the segments in... What was it? Oh yeah, the cube. The Zoo Tetris. I screwed that one up. I messed up the setup, so I had to exit re-enter, and that cost me quite a bit of time. It's okay though. Gomez is cute. You're cute. There you go. Hello, MP. How are you doing? if I'm not doing well enough at it, I have to do it again. Something I'm definitely not looking forward to having to do if I ever have to run Witness 100 again. Trying to hit the buoy cycle. Tight, really tight early game cycles are not very fun. This one isn't super tight. Losing 20 seconds is basically the limit. I think 15 is about the absolute limit. But I also didn't have that good of a PB, so there is time to save over my PB here in the early game. I know a 611 is possible. I know I've gotten a 611 and I'm pretty sure a 6 flat is possible. Definitely a 611 should be possible for me. Just involves not screwing up as many things. And mashing quickly. Unfortunately, mashing is a big time loss in this run. When we're talking about seconds. Pretty clean movement there, I thought. Bleeding random seconds in the in this segment, not sure why. I think it's just every time I accidentally turn the wrong direction or climb somewhere on a corner that I shouldn't be. As I say, I think there's time to save off my early game. This area in particular. Especially if I don't get caught on random ledges. Okay, I'm now apparently ahead. Gold by 0.2. Nice. Pretty sure those 2 seconds come from actually grabbing the cube while the door is opening, rather than what I'm pretty sure I did last time, which was grabbing the cube first and then having to wait for the door to open. It's not a huge mistake. It's not like falling off, but it's not good. Next long cutscene, I'm going to rename this. So either next reset or next hub entry, which I think is City Ruins. Because I am getting the cube bit here now. I think it's actually better for the route, even though it feels really bad. little bit slow coming off the cycle, but still a pretty good segment. I rotated a little bit late there, which is what caused time in that particular segment, how quickly you rotate to the left. If you rotate too early, you don't make it over though, so. Not screwing this bit up. And getting the speed set. And getting body by not grabbing the cube. Yeah, I'm just going to start going up top, I think. Given the ease with which I can gold that segment. I think just accepting a little bit of time loss for a lot of consistency is probably worth it. It was another really clean climb. Just a lot of really fast movement. Oh boy. Almost fell there. Yeah! I beat Dot to the opening animation. I have no idea if that's actually a good thing to be doing, but it certainly feels like a good thing to be doing. That time loss is actually expected. That time loss is because I'm now talking to Dot and grabbing a cube. And so I have time saved here. I think I just mentioned this last run, but I will mention it again. I changed my cube bit route just a little bit. I'm not skipping the early Nature Hub cube anymore, just because I don't think it actually does enough, and I think it messes with some of the later cube bits more considerably. Okay, I'm now 10 seconds ahead, so definitely agree with that. Oh no! Approximately all of the cycles lost. Should be about 4 or 5 seconds for that mistake. So I do get to make the corner jump. Oh, okay, I didn't fall there. Not too bad. Down, please. Yeah, not too bad. 4? Okay. I think if I throw later is what would do that. So here, I'm going to step left before I do that, just so it pushes me a little bit closer to the correct direction. Not sure if it's worth it or not. Doesn't look like it matters. I'll do it simpler then. There's a way, the major second loss there is, I'm pretty sure, from the initial climb up. There's a way to, when you throw the first cube, also land on the platform above, which saves a jump, and a jump is about a second. A jump is about a second, a corner climb is about a half second. Of course, depending on how quickly you react to what's going on, they can be more or less. Nice drop. It's very close. But okay, no black holes this run, so looks like we're all set for this cycle. I'm even ahead, 12-13. Very nice. Hello, Mr. Owl. Please tell me the secrets of the magical anti-cube. Or the Metatron? I don't know. He gets me to an anti-cube, that's what I care about. Alright, so I'm gonna get a cube as I leave Fox now. Yes, this is gonna break a lot of my golds. Because I get a cube here. But whatever. I used to get a cube here, which I'm not going to anymore. Right, left, right, jump, right, down, up. This also means the route's a little bit closer to the any percent route, which I don't think is a bad thing. Just because any percent muscle memory is much easier to recall. What am I doing? Somehow making that jump, that's what I'm doing. Game. Why you do this? But I'm past the bit that's the really tight cycle. Nothing else should be really tight. So, now it's just down to how well I play. And in particular, not making 30-second mistakes in Graveyard. Which are always embarrassing. Nice jump. Did not need to get a corner grab on that box. Did anyways, but... didn't fall off the platforms. Success. It's a very hard trick. It involves pushing the jump button and not panicking. I've died in both of my previous PBs doing that segment. Nice. Did the thing. Saved the time. Good enough. Left, 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 right, right, down, up, left, left, right, right, up, down, down, right, right. I should really start memorizing that sequence as a 16. Oh, come on. Since it doesn't seem to matter. What am I doing? Doesn't seem to matter how much time you spend in between the two. Including, like, just chaining one directly into the other. Jesus. Yeah, so the trick here is to hold a direction so that you can use Gomez's movement as a trigger for when you've actually fully picked up the block. Otherwise, it's very hard to tell when Gomez has fully picked up the block. And And if you try to rotate too early, you get stuck in what I was doing there, where you'll rotate around without the block. Or you'll rotate right and then not immediately back left, or whatever the equivalent is of what you're trying to do, and you won't actually rotate the block. This entire segment is actually really well designed because the timings between each set of blocks. So for the first set of pink blocks at the very bottom, you have these, they're actually overlapping cycles. And as you get further, the gaps between, I'm going to wait until I'm done with this. Don't have enough mental energy to talk. As you go further, the gaps between the pink block cycles get farther apart. So if at the beginning it's like A, B, and A is still going, and then A ends, and then B ends, it eventually goes to A, B, and A, and B, and then it goes to A ends as B starts. And then at the very end, for the final climb, you actually have A ends, and there's a gap, and then B starts. And you actually have to be careful of it. We are doing the weight switch temple. Oh, forgot what I was doing. First unintentional death, I think? Not sure. I know something dumb happened last run during this segment as well. I got caught on a ledge somewhere I wasn't expecting to, and it took me a while to react. Oh, I grab a cube here. That's actually a little bit annoying. I guess whatever happened last time was not as bad. Did I get it? Disadvantage of that trick is if you screw it up, there's no recovery, because the cube is in a stuck position. Whole bunch of time loss. Whole bunch of time lost in that segment. Oh boy. Is this gonna mess up any of my owl cycles? I don't think so. We'll see. The forest one is the only one that's gonna be tight, and that's the one that's coming up immediately after this. Nah, it's fine. It's a little bit sketchy, but... Please ignore the gold there. It's completely wrong. Oh, I'm actually maneuvering a bit incorrectly here. I think I need to fix that gold, actually. Much like last run, I screwed up. And so, I already have the message about a map. Oh, that was the run I reset, never mind. Still saved time over last run with that, so... I mean, mashing through text is not actually a big deal if you know there's text coming. The issue is when you aren't sure. Jump. Jump, Gomez. Jump. Right. Not stellar, but clean enough. That was sketchy. The cube was still trapped just slightly behind the obelisk, the block, whatever it's called. So it didn't believe me that it should be connected to the other cubes, so I had to give it a little bit of a push. I still think that I want to change this to actually get the cube bit. As much as it bothers me, I think it's still the most efficient thing to do. There's nowhere that I'm getting a cube that's actually a problem. There are just some places that are annoying. Oh. Interesting. Did not mean to rotate there. I don't know where I used to get that cube, but that's a very interesting spot to get it. I doubt that a triple grab is possible. I'm pretty sure I know what's necessary to get a double grab, at least. Still not convinced this is the right order to do those things in. But but it feels pretty reasonable. So I'm going to keep doing it that way. Still don't know what's going on. Hi, Exto. So FEZ is a puzzle game. And therefore it has two kinds of things, much like Witness. It has the things that are visible, which are the golden cubes. You can either get a golden cube, some of them are just in the world, and some of them are hidden. So the golden ones, again, it's either there's a cube in the world or 8 cube bits. The purple ones are hidden, but all of these are part of puzzles. So like that puzzle, the puzzle here is how do I get around these cubes? That's the basic idea. For this run I need all of them, of course. It's a 100% run. So there's 32 of each. The thing that makes this game particularly confusing to watch is just the way the perspective works. So this is a 3D game, but you view it two-dimensionally. So all these objects have depth, but whatever direction I'm looking at them in is the way they work. So if I'm looking at two platforms that are actually really far apart, but they look like they're adjacent, then they are adjacent, and I can walk from one to the other. It's a very interesting mechanic. But it's also very confusing if you don't know what's going on. And it requires really thinking about it three-dimensionally, even though it's only visible two-dimensionally. The other weird thing that I'm collecting, you saw one of them on top of that telescope, are these things called heart pieces. Those are required for 100% completion, and we don't really know what they are. 209.4. Well, the game actually does percentages in what I would call a reasonable way, which is 100% is 32 cubes of any persuasion. So any percent is technically 100%. Any percent gets 32 cubes and beats the game. So there's twice as many cubes. You only need 32 to reach one of the endings. You need 64 to reach the best ending. And as I mentioned, there are these 3 optional heart pieces. So 64 plus 3 is 67. 67 out of 32 is 209.4. If you had watched me run any percent, the whole thing would probably make a hell of a lot more sense. But this is not an arbitrary percentage as decided by the community. This is actually the way the game counts. So, otherwise, yes, this would be called 100%, because that's the reasonable thing to call it. This is max percent, basically. Get the highest percentage you can, because it's not get everything. There are things that I'm not getting. What am I doing? Rotating in circles. There are things that I'm not getting. There are rooms that I'm not going to enter. There are a couple of optional objects that aren't counted towards your percentage tracker that I'm not going to be getting. Heart pieces. The red things are heart pieces. I can understand why that might not be obvious. They form a large heart in one special room in the game, and that's it. If you enter the right code in that room, you can also reset your game. We're not really sure why. Just missed the red hand, that's a shame. Also, it looks like my timing is off for the green hand. Or the white hand, excuse me. So we get to play a little bit of guess who. Actually, no, I'm going to get the red cube, and then I'll figure out what's wrong with the white cube. It's probably the wrong day of the week. Oh. Good job, me. We're going to ignore that cube, because I accidentally duped it. White cube. White cube should be over here. Let's go forward to PM. There it is. Please ignore the fact that one of the hands is still present. It shouldn't be. I got the cube for it. it is possible to get another cube for it, and I'm not going to do so. Because that would be cheating. Alright, I know what I did wrong. The game is a very neat puzzle game. And I'm not going to tell you how to find the secrets, just so that if you do choose to play it, you can enjoy it. Though, of course, I am spoiling a little bit of what's going on. Even the existence of anti-cubes is a little bit of a spoiler, but much like in The Witness, if you know there's EPs, you start looking for them. But you get introduced to the sort of oddities of the world pretty quickly. There are a lot of things where it's like, oh, there's a treasure chest that's not connected to anything, or oh, I picked up a map that doesn't seem to go anywhere, or is a picture of somewhere that I've been in silhouette with extra invisible platforms drawn into it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that you'll see which is weird and not really explicable, and generally speaking, much like The Witness, you'll find one of these things. Up, left, right, up, left. You also find these things, which are probably the easiest kinds of anti-cubes to get. But doesn't mean that they're actually easy, it's just the puzzle itself is pretty easy to figure out. In general, this is the sort of game that it's very easy to 100%. Like, it's very easy to get all the cubes and anti-cubes. It's considerably harder to get all of the heart pieces. They are very finicky. There we go. But yeah, if you're a puzzle game sort of person, then this, along with all the other puzzle games that I speedrun, why did I rotate right? Are definitely on my you should play it list. Alright, well that was a really terrible attempt at that skip. You can get to the 4th ladder if you get some pretty clean jumps there. I didn't. Oh, come on! Game. All the cubes, in fact, all the everything in this game sort of breathes. It moves up and down and up and down and up and down. Well, for the cubes, it actually affects their hitbox. Which means sometimes when you're standing underneath the cube, you'll be able to collect it, and sometimes you won't. Which is a little bit frustrating as a speedrunner. Of course, as a casual player, you just jump for them and everything's fine. A little shorter? Yeah. I'm not really big on 5-hour runs. I think the longest run I've done is probably Witness, back before I was good at it, so 3. I guess that's not true, I've done Mardek, which is also 3. Come on! I'm holding space for too long, which means that I have too much momentum. This is not something you're supposed to be able to do, in case you were wondering. And these are invisible platforms. I happen to remember where they are. It's a bunch of time loss. That's the pattern with most games. Oh, did you actually finish a run yesterday? I only saw you practice. Maybe you started streaming again later? Oh, 6 hours. Whatever. 5 hours is what you would have if you had a really competitive time, right? Aren't there records at 5:10, 5:20? Or am I thinking of a different game where you're not as optimized? That practice was earlier. Do you not live in the Americas? Because no, I don't think that's true. At least not by my wall clock. That is to say, I have been to sleep and woken up since I watched your run. However, we're going to count that. 4:56. Okay, so yeah, if you were pushing for a super competitive time, you would be closer to 5 hours. I'm not wrong. But regardless, very long. I agree. Boy. Oh, what the hell am I doing? I counter-rotated and I wasn't ready for it. 12 minutes and you don't have it. Okay, fine, but you could still be getting a 5:30. It would be a very reasonable time to go for. So there's an owl here. I'm doing this in the wrong order. I think. I'm not even sure. Nope. There's an owl here that I had to wait for last time. So the time save here is not having to wait for it. I'm going to open this door just because I don't have to wait. I don't have to open it later then. And I'm going to change the camera so the owl will spawn directly off camera. So if I move the camera like this, the owl will spawn a little bit more quickly as the sun sets. Slightly sketchy. 5:20, okay, that's reasonable. Well, it's not the cleanest of runs so far, but no tremendously bad mistakes. I'm not really sure how I'm uneven to my last run, given that I hit the same owl cycle. But who knows? Because those should be absolutely limiting factors in the run. Maybe the clock manipulation changes things. Like maybe the owls don't move if you manipulate the clock. Oh yeah, I fell here. That was a bad mistake to have made. Yeah, this is definitely the bit of the game where if you're not familiar with the way the game's actually laid out, the rotations are going to start messing with your head. So, I apologize, Exto. You're going to get very confused. Kill me, kill me, kill me? Nope. I want to impact the ground there. It says about 0.2, rather than having to fall the extra distance. But it depends on my jump. I don't think it's worth it to change my momentum to get it more cleanly. Left. So the mechanic in this area is, in this area in general, the industrial hub, is objects that you can rotate in 3 space, but of course you only view them in 2 space. So it involves a lot of trial and error to figure out where they actually are and what rotating them is actually doing. There are a lot of these pushy levers and things that spin and things that move and flip-flop, etc., etc. Wow, what a gold split chain. That's 6? That's pretty good. I mean, I cleared my golds before 2 runs ago. I've gotten 2 PVs. This is the 3rd run on these splits, but... Alright, 45 seconds saved on pivots. Good. Good. Down. Down. I don't know the fastest way to get here. Uh-oh. You broke my chatbot. I'll have to fix that later. Not sure how you broke my chatbot, but Twitch apparently sent it bad data, and it decided that that was a good reason to hiccup. So we are chatless for a little bit. Apologies. And this segment also, unfortunately, involves a decent bit of me paying attention, so... Nice 3-spin. I forgot what direction I was facing. This area is all cycle based, So, in theory, consistent play gets me the same cycles. At the very least, I am pretty familiar with most of these cycles, so I know when to pause. Please don't kill me. Thank you. Those platforms can sometimes just throw you through the ground. Nine, 10, 11, 12. It should be 11. 7. I'll grab the cube. That was a bit sketchy. Definitely don't want to fall there. To climb up at least one of those bits. Damn it, game. Oh, no! It baited me. I thought I was going to get there. That segment is so bad. Alright, one sec. Let me reset my chat bot. Oh, interesting. I think I know what caused that. That's good. I should be able to fix it. Hello? Hello, hello. Ah, yes I did. What did I do? Yeah, I check my whispers after the stream. I don't like checking them during the stream. If I had a way to receive them on the bot, then I would probably at least respond to the ones that I felt I could. Okay, I'm not getting black hold here, which I did last run, so this should save a little bit of time as well. But I'm pretty sure I know what to do, or at least I have a plan for what to do if I get black hold again. Nah. The goal there is that climbing the ladder is slightly faster than climbing up the side of a ledge. So I want to, excuse me, whenever possible, I want to climb a ladder a little bit higher, or in some rare circumstances, I'll actually climb down a ladder, so that I can avoid climbing a ledge or a corner. So like I should have climbed a little bit higher there. I should have climbed down a little bit there. And that was good. Nope, missed it. I tied too. Nice. A little bit of sloppy movement there, but overall not too bad. 6. All the way up to the top. These screws are interesting, I guess is not the word for them. Frustrating is probably the word for them. They're very much so like little mini auto-scrollers, which really isn't a good thing. Not the cleanest spinning plates, but I will take it. Okay. Hi Fire, thank you. Ah yes, Gomez got stuck in a wall last time. Let's see if I can have him not do that this time. Good job, Gomez. You did it. You avoided the deadly trappings of getting stuck inside of a building. And I mean, like, entering it from the wrong direction, stuck inside of a building. Like, he walked through the wall instead of the doorway, because he's a very magical being. Alright. Fourth to last hub. No, fourth hub, second to last. Left. Then left. Everything in this area is very green, in case you hadn't noticed. So the other thing to know, Exto, is that this little spinning gate at the top here connects 5 different major hubs. So basically the entire goal here is to avoid using it as much as possible, because the warps in this game take about 10 seconds to transfer and then have about a 10-second load time, which isn't counted out by the game's load remover. It's consistent, it's just not counted out. So we are really going to try and clear each hub before moving on to the next one. But to warp between hubs, all you have to do is rotate that central cube to be facing the right direction, and then... Nope. Sorry, I need to focus for this bit. One of the hardest rooms in the game. I have a setup for it, but unfortunately that setup requires my complete and undivided attention, or else I'm going to screw it up. It's 2 frame-perfect tricks back to back, which isn't actually as bad as it should be, because there's a setup that means that they aren't also pixel-perfect. Where am I going? My movement through this room is still really terrible, but it's okay. Nobody's judging me except myself. And the timer, well, I guess the timer isn't judging, the timer is just counting. Timer knows all. The 10 seconds were from missing the cycle, loosely speaking. I think I also screwed something up at the end, yeah. I also screwed something up here. Cool. The movement in some of these later areas still just confuses me. Okay. Mostly because I haven't done it enough. Like, these aren't fundamentally hard tricks. I'm just a bit shaky on these areas because they aren't drilled into my muscle memory like the any percent part is. It's kind of funny. So I rerouted 100% from what other people were doing. But with this route for 100%, any percent is basically just, and you stop once you've got the first 32 cubes. Like, it's almost exactly the same stuff. There's just a little bit of cube duplication that happens in any percent that I'm not really accepting of in 100%, so I don't do it. They do it in 100% too. I just don't like it. The 100% rules are questionable at best. That was sketchy. Yes. Who's ready for an auto-scroller? Well, in a little bit. I have to do another one of these forks first. Tuning forks. In case you're not clear. Say that as much as you want. This is that most wonderful thing in games called an auto-scroller. Exo, are there any auto-scrollers in Skyward Sword? Or are there just those like small things where it's like, well, I'm gonna stand on a minecart while it moves for like 30 seconds? Are there any like outright minute long, can't speed up because there's some cycle you're waiting for? Only one that's 10 minutes long. Okay, so it's not eclipse length. And you mentioned you could skip cutscenes, right? Plus the minecart thing? Okay. Actually, I'm not sure auto-scroller is really the best name for this. Because it's not like I'm limited. Well, I guess I am. It's like an auto-scroller where there's one distance limit. Can skip some cutscenes. Oh, I'm sorry. Alright. I'm going to take this moment to figure out what broke my bot. Because I can read the chat in the Twitch archive, and that should give me enough information. There is a lava somewhere. Oh, there it is. I guess I have to pay attention again. I'll do that later. 2.5 hours? Wow. That's quite something. Yeah, the first bit is an auto-scroller which you can't speed up, but you can skip ahead during. And the second bit is an auto-scroller that you can't skip ahead or speed up, because the game is good about this stuff. So the only thing that I'm doing here to quote-unquote save time is minimizing the number of rotations I do. Every time I rotate the camera, the lava level stops during the rotation. So every time I want to rotate, every time I have to rotate, I want to minimize it. Or sorry, as many rotations as possible I want to avoid. And every time I have to rotate, I want to double rotate. Because when you rotate twice, you don't have to wait. It's somewhat of reaction. You could rotate 2 single times, the same amount of time it takes you to double press an arrow key, but you don't have to react to it, which is actually a big deal. So double rotations save about 1/10 of a second when you can do them. Okay. Long cube done. Still ahead somehow. And I have 30 seconds to save in Graveyard. Certainly this hasn't been the cleanest of runs, but it's definitely better than last one by 11.3 seconds. The plus 46 is kind of embarrassing, but it happens. It's very hard to not make any mistakes in a run that's this long. I just wish the mistakes were smaller. Or more scattered, maybe. Like, it feels really bad when you make a couple of really big single mistakes. Because it's like, well, I just could have not done exactly X, and everything would have been fine. But of course, if you hadn't done exactly X, you probably would have screwed up Y, Z, and W, which all would be very small. But still very relevant mistakes to make. I hope I'm not going to grab any golden cubes during this climb. It was something that I didn't have to do when I was skipping the nature cube bit. Or delaying the nature cube bit. Piss. It's looking like better and better reasons to not skip that. Or, sorry, to delay that rather than what I'm doing now. This cycle right here that I just missed is 8 seconds lost. And it's because I have to stand still while that cube grab happens. So I lose effective time because I'm waiting for to collect another cube bit. That 8 seconds is a pretty quantifiable reason to not do that. Not to grab that cube bit early. It's a shame. Because it makes part of the climb harder. I guess I should see if there's other cube bits that I can change the positioning of. There was one that I used to think about doing. I don't remember where it was now. The problem is there aren't that many areas that we revisit. So it's pretty hard to actually find a good moment. To delay a cube bit pickup. But there's stuff like I could grab that cube bit from Tree Crumble, the one I just grabbed, along with this anti-cube at an earlier moment. Actually, I can definitely do that. Oh, that's the wrong way to rotate. I can definitely do that. And that, once again, will just offset where I'm grabbing cubes a little bit. And every little bit is all that I need to be able to play around with what's going on. Double spin, nearly kill myself. Good enough. Losing time versus already losing time. Alright. I have a 30-second mistake in here. If I don't get confused about where I'm going, I should be able to avoid that. Yeah, I literally just forgot where I was going at some point. I warped out and had to warp back. So if I don't do that... Again, much like sewer, it's a lot of sloppiness, just because I'm not super comfortable with this area. Because we don't do it at all in any percent, and it was one of the areas I did very late casually, so I'm just not very familiar with it. Industrial Hub I did get through casually. Early casually. I got through 209.4 casually. Or, no, that's a lie. I got through 206.2, or whatever the only two heart pieces percentage is. It's a creepy owl statue. Don't worry about it. So these are the 4 owls that I talked to during the game. Oh, come on. Don't get stuck behind walls, Gomez. There are 4 owls I have to talk to. I have to talk to them they're only visible during nighttime. So that's why it's such an unfortunate part of the routing. Though it's definitely something that makes the game routing more interesting. I have black holes again. Alright, I think I remember how to deal with this. There we go. It looks a little bit dumb. That's because it's a little bit dumb. but it gets me past the black holes, and that's a big deal. And apparently that's worth 13 seconds versus my gold, so I think I've gotten black holes both times, or I guess all 3 times now that I've done this run since resetting golds. And that's probably the cleanest I've handled it. Oops. Don't stop yet. So the gimmick for this area, in case you haven't guessed, is that there are these wonderful platforms that you can't see that also don't give you checkpoints, so I have to climb them again. Unless there's lightning. There's a little bit of a trick to it, though. Good old speedrunner tech, which is that you can see the raindrops splashing on them. So if you know loosely where you're looking, you can generally figure out what you need to do. Oh yeah, I screwed this up royally as well. So if you know basically what you're doing, you can check pretty quickly to see what you actually need to do. If you only sort of know what you're doing, you wait for the lightning storms, and they'll show you. But since I know where the blocks are supposed to be, and I also know loosely what my movement has to be to get around them, it's not too bad. Wouldn't say it's great, but it's not too bad. Oi. Grab the damn thing. Do the thing. Again, as far as mistakes go, that's actually pretty small, given that I lost 12 seconds for falling to my death, which is why I have that fall counter down at the bottom. It's not quite a death counter, because there are times when falling is actually worse than dying. If you get a checkpoint as you fall, it's often much worse. Actually, it's always going to be much worse. Or if you fall into water, and of course video game physics, you can fall into water and survive from any height. So anytime that happens, I'm tracking it. There's also a couple of intentional deaths, all of which are door cancels. So you'll fall. Actually, it's not true. One of them isn't a door cancel, so I guess there's 6 intended deaths. I was counting before I started, and I was counting to 5, but there should be 6. Because one of them is just an intentional death. It's not about, there is no cancel to it. Nice movement. Very nice movement. Because you're going to grab a cube bit and then return up to top. That's the one that I do while waiting for the owl in the industrial hub by the orange tree. There you go. 40 seconds saved by not being quite as much of an idiot. It's a very hard trick to pull off. But it is a pretty good time save when you do it. Okay, so now I once again have to answer the question of, am I happy with this run? Currently the answer is still no, but we'll figure it out. This is the dumb one. This is the part that you cannot get. This is a heart piece that you cannot get unless you ask for help. The information is just not anywhere in the game. Why, I have no idea. But the designers thought it made for a cool puzzle, so they did it. Blame Mr. Fish. Or the other guy who worked on this game. The musician probably did not have much to say about the creative design. Sadly. Oh, welcome to Bitrate Hell, also. Should have warned you first. If you have problems with epilepsy or are triggered by low bitrate, look away. I promise it'll be over soon. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can through it, because I am a speedrunner. That is, I was gonna say my job description, but it's not a job. So, let's just go with my subtitle. Speedrunner, subtitle, likes going fast. Oh, I jumped a little bit too early. Shame. It's otherwise a pretty clean quantum. This is definitely the wake up if you've been falling asleep sort of room. Meh, only lost 4.6. It's actually not bad. A death can cost up to about 8 seconds, depending on how far you fall for, how long you fall for. So falling into the void is generally considerably slower. The slowest thing that can happen is an industrial hub, where you fall onto a rotating platform, your corpse is rotated by the rotating platform, and then you rotate into a black hole, and so you go through 3 separate animations before you die. That can cost up to 10 seconds. But in general, all you have to deal with is the fall time. So a death that's sort of minimum height, as it were, is going to be a lot less expensive than a death that is full height. So quantum in general, deaths are pretty cheap because you're only going to fall down to a lower layer. You're not going to fall forever. Drop. I'll just take this cube here. Oh, I didn't trust it. I think I would have been fine, actually. If you land on the platform that has this doorway on it, you survive. If you land on the one that's one lower than it, you die. So it's a bit of a tight jump, but it's a little bit faster because you don't have to jump an extra time. Alright. These are areas you unlock throughout the game. There's 4, 8, and 16 cube doors that I opened, which are sort of gating your progress. These tell the plot, loosely speaking, of the civilization that inhabited this place. It's also called the memory core, so I assume to some extent it's remembering what happened. So there was the wall village back when they were all two-dimensional and didn't know any better. Then they made this place, which is New Zoo, or Industrial City. And then they finally made the place that we're going to go to next, which is Zoo City. Okay, double rotated a little bit early. Three cube bits is correct. Not that I know how I would have forgotten this. Not that I can picture how I would have forgotten something at this point, but a little bit of time bled. Industrial City. So Zoo City. So this is the final area. This is where all the actual live inhabitants of the game are hanging out, aside from the ones that were in your starting village. They're only in the starting village and here. And some of these guys have FEZs. Actually, maybe it's just one of them? No, two of them. They did reuse character models a little bit, and I don't blame them. It's actually kind of nice to have characters that look somewhat similar, so you can identify them readily as part of this tribe. You have a much flatter head, and as do all the inhabitants of your village. This is also where you learn a bunch of the really important stuff about counting and their, no, it's just their counting system, which will sort of get you bootstrapped into learning how a lot of the FEZ language works. Alright, let's see if I can pull off this trick. So I'm going to grab this cube bit, go through this door, rotate and jump before I grab this cube, and then jump again quickly, and then Dot's dialogue about you found every single cube merges with Dot's dialogue about, oh my god, this door has 32 cubes on it. And you don't have to mash twice. So this is another classic object exists in 3 dimensions but looks flat when you see it. This is the Stargate. This takes us to the end of the game in all of its creepy glory. Actually, this one isn't too creepy. This one is just weird. So the top here, you can see it as we're coming down, is this little rotating cube that has a doorway in it. I have to get up to that doorway, and depending on how fast I am, I either have to rotate once, twice, sorry, 0 times, once, twice, or 3 times. Almost always, and this is referred to as the number of turns that you take. So a 0 turn is what all the really good runners get. I'm not actually a really good runner. I get 1 turns and occasionally 2 turns. I got a lot of 3s and 4s and 5s when I was starting out. To get all the way up without having to wait for a turn requires some really precise movement. This area is low gravity because we're on the purple moon or something. I don't know. It's low gravity anyway. So getting your jumps and more importantly not spending too much time in the air is actually a big deal. So there are a lot of ledges that I'm going to grab early. Oh, piss. Well, there goes any hope of getting this in 1. Not that I ever, or 0. And there goes any hope of getting it in 1. It's quite alright. I do not need the 4 seconds that it would net me. It just feels good to get a faster cycle here. As you are moving in low gravity, of course, everything you do is also in slow motion. So rotations are as 3 turns. It's gross. So rotations are also very, very slow. So I got a 2 turn, I guess I got a 1 turn in PB, but I got an early 3 turn. Anyways, it's not a great, it's not a very comforting way to end a run, but I'm still saving a lot of time, so. Get all 64 cubes. The big cube is happy, or something. I don't know, it blows up. But in a good way. And we return to our house. See if I can make these jumps blind. I don't think I can. Nope. Oh, because I'm facing the wrong direction, that's why. On top of the world! Woo! Thank you, thank you. 17:33, 41 is my official time. The auto splitter ends a little bit early, usually. Though, I don't know, even though there's a very, very accurate in-game timer, we still time using only seconds. So, who the hell cares? Okay. Do I want to try and improve this? I think what I'll probably do is I'll just do more runs tomorrow and the day after, Thursday and Friday. And if I can improve, because like 40 seconds lost is kind of embarrassing. If I succeed in improving this, then I'll keep it. But if I can't beat it, then I'll have to be happy with this run. I just really, it always worries me when I PE by a large margin, because it usually means there's a lot more consistency to be gained. Anyways, thanks for watching. Oh, it actually crashed rather than going to the credits. Good job, FEZ. I'm proud of you.